Name and money are very important in these
Yes,
races, I've learned.
yes,
Yeah, so the recognition, you need money if you don't have the name recognition to get
right.
people to know who you are. As somebody that's run, in the past for mayor, how difficult is that? For somebody that's like, oh no, they're looking at this poll, they're like, we got a lot of ground to make up. How do
Yeah.
campaigns actually do that? How do they get the attention that they need?
Well, obviously, unearned media is the best thing you can get because you don't have to pay for it.
Mhm.
And the evolution of social media, has helped to a large extent. But still, nothing is like pressing the fresh, having people out there who are working on your behalf, canvassing communities, phone banking, talking with people. All these things require a volunteer base that you definitely have to have, as well as the free resources because you can't pay everybody to do everything. And then you can engraft upon that, telephone banking, text messaging. People tend to get too many text messages, so they tend to kind of screen that out.
Mhm.
Social media, I don't. It's important. It's important for people to see it, but I don't necessarily think that it's the ultimate way to go because I believe that pressing the flesh is the most important thing you can do. But you can only press so many people, and you can
Mhm.
only spend so much time doing that. So obviously, when I ran my campaign, I think we raised something under the tune of maybe $400,000, which is, paled in comparison to my opponent who probably had, $40 million.
Mhm.
It seemed like, and did not have to work to get earn. He got a lot of unearned media because having a large PR operation to constantly push your issue and your agenda makes it much more easier. But for these candidates, they don't have that opportunity because they've got to go out and do it on their own and makes it much more difficult. I mean, for someone who is at the lower end of the poll spectrum, they would have to spend upwards of $1 million to even create the level of name recognition. I mean, Sri Tanadar did it by spending close to $10 million to
Mhm.
create the opportunity for him to run in the city of Detroit, which he was not from, because he had name of recognition and people identify with him.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of things that you need, but if you got volunteers, it certainly helps. If you can raise money, it certainly helps. If you got support of outside, inside validators,
Mhm.
it certainly works. And then you got to go out there and do the work. And you have to be genuine with the people who you're talking to,
When we
because people in Detroit can detect the genuine nature of the candidates.
Yeah. When we talk about going out and pressing the flesh, I've heard in the past that candidates, because they have limited resources, will focus their time on higher turnout areas, and
Yeah.
they'll focus on the areas where they know people are going to come vote, basically, and that means that other areas are neglected, and
Right.
places where people haven't felt, much attention from their elected officials might continue to feel that way if nobody
Yeah.
comes knocks on the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you approach that in your campaign, and what should these candidates be doing to boost turnout, to get more people engaged in this
Yeah,
election?
I mean, obviously, media attention certainly helps.
Mhm.
In this election, there will be a concerted focus of the media because there'll be someone new elected, so there'll be a much more higher media profile, which will also generate, I think, some level of turnout. But what I try to do, I try to twofold strategy. One is you got to focus on the people that vote. If we got a pool of 100,000 people that are just sort of the hardcore voters in Detroit, you would be foolish not to communicate with them. And
Mhm.
I'm sure all the candidates are doing what they do to communicate with that base. But if you can generate 5 to 10,000 additional votes from people who are not a part of that base, that gives you a tremendous advantage because especially in a primary like this, where it appears that you probably could get through the primary with maybe 40,000, 50,000 votes.
Mhm.
If you can get 50,000 votes, you probably would be at the higher end of the scale, given the fact that at least in the last election, you think you had somewhere around 75,000 people
Yep.
that voted in the primary and then creeped up to 100,000 people because this is a new election, a lot more eyes of attention. It probably will creep up to 120,000 people, 125,000 people, but that still leaves close to 350,000 people out there that are not being impacted. And how much resources you can devote to try to create those marginal new voters, because the more time and money you can do to that, the better off you'll be because you're increasing your chances of getting to a win number through the primary and ultimately to the general election.
Let's talk about something